From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Friday, August 5th. It's going to be warm and humid today, some spotty showers, maybe thunderstorms, partly to mostly cloudy throughout the day with highs in the mid-80s. But the humidity is the big storyline for today. For the weekend, it's going to be hot and muggy throughout both days, Saturday and Sunday. It is going to maybe create some isolated rain and storm chances for both Saturday and Sunday with the highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. And yes, that humidity sticks around. Visitation is today for Elwood police officer Noah Shanovez. It marks the beginning of the final farewell to a hero killed in the line of duty. Officer Shanovez died Sunday morning after being shot during a traffic stop. Now members of law enforcement from all across the country will travel to Fishers to pay their respects. Shanovez's body is set to leave the funeral home this morning. It arrived at I-Town Church at 9 o'clock this morning, and then visitation begins at 2. The funeral is set for tomorrow, Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. That's also at I-Town. A procession will follow. It'll leave I-Town and head north on Brook School Road to Campus Parkway and then to I-69. It will then continue on to State Road 13 north to Elwood, with a stop in front of the Elwood Police Department for the final 1042 call. The procession will then go west on State Road 28 to US 31, then south to Crown Hill Cemetery, where Officer Shanovez will be buried. According to detectives, Carl Boards fired at Shanovez after being pulled over. Investigators found 36 rifle bullet casings at the scene. Court documents show that Shanovez never even unholstered his gun. Tuesday, Boards was charged with murder. Shanovez was a 5-year military veteran and had served the community of Elwood for 11 months. Officials are encouraging residents to gather along the procession route tomorrow in Shanovez's memory. Investigators have changed their description of the crash that killed 4 people, including Indiana Congresswoman Jackie Walorski. Based on eyewitness testimony and video evidence, the Elkhart County Sheriff now says the SUV that Walorski and her staff were in crossed the center line of State Road 19 and collided with a car going the other way. Initially, they said that the car had crossed over. They also say Zachary Potts was driving the SUV. He was Walorski's district director. The crash killed him, fellow staffer Emma Thompson, Walorski, and Edith Schmucker, who was driving the car. Deputies say all 4 were wearing seatbelts, and the airbags did deploy. The sheriff's office says it's now working to interview witnesses and collect more evidence. And today, Indiana House lawmakers could hold a final vote on their version of a near-total abortion ban. The deeply divided House voted yesterday to keep exceptions in cases of rape or incest. 39 Republicans voted to strip the exceptions, but 32 Republicans joined all Democrats to defeat the amendment. The vote came after hours of contentious debate.
I just don't understand why we would force a baby, really at 10, a baby to have a baby. When that baby has no understanding whatsoever.
2 wrongs do not make it right. It doesn't add up. I've told my caucus, and I'll tell this body today, I will do everything I can to help that mother during this crisis.
Lawmakers did approve an amendment allowing doctors to perform abortions to prevent serious risk to the mother's health and to save her life. If the House gives final approval today, it goes back to the Senate. The House was set to reconvene this morning at 9 o'clock. Governor Eric Holcomb shared a statement with News 8 following yesterday's session, in part saying the contents of this current bill now reflect strong contributions from all corners of the General Assembly, and I look forward to signing it as soon as it arrives on my desk. Indianapolis business leaders tell IT Mate that they want lawmakers to slow down. We first told you on Wish TV's Daybreak yesterday about the statement from the Indy Chamber. It calls the legislative process rushed and says it could lead to more harm than good for the state. The chamber lists several issues that lawmakers should answer before moving forward with a ban and warns it may make it tough to recruit and keep healthcare workers. The chamber says the unanswered questions make it likely that lawmakers will have to revisit the issue in January. And lawmakers in both chambers may finalize an inflation-fighting plan today. The House has settled on $200 tax rebate payments from the state's surging budget surplus. down from the $225 Governor Holcomb first proposed. The Senate focused its efforts on a freeze of utility and gas taxes. House leaders say that they've reached an agreement with Senate negotiators. The WNBA's Brittney Griner is beginning a 9-year prison sentence in Russia. There was video of the moment she heard the judge's decision on charges related to drug possession and smuggling. She was standing behind prison bars with just a stone face, not showing much emotion at all. She is now ordered to also pay a fine of 1 million rubles. That's almost $17,000. Griner was convicted after Russian travel security officers found cash oil in her luggage. Her team, the Phoenix Mercury, played against the Connecticut Sun after the sentence came down. Both teams joined together in a tribute to Griner before tip-off. They held a moment of silence for 42 seconds to represent her jersey number. President Biden also issued a statement that the White House is continuing work to bring Griner and jailed Marine Paul Whelan home. He maintains that Russia is wrongfully detaining Griner, calling it unacceptable. 4 current or former Louisville police officers are federally charged over the raid that led to the deadly shooting of Breonna Taylor. The charges name former officers Joshua Janes and Brett Hankison and current officers Kelly Goodlett and Sergeant Kyle Meany. The counts include unlawful conspiracy, use of force, and obstruction of justice. Hankison is the only officer who was at the scene the night of Taylor's killing. Most of the charges stem from a false drug warrant used to raid Taylor's home. Taylor died in March of 2020 when police forced entry into her apartment while serving that warrant for her ex-boyfriend. Hankison, Janes, and Meany face up to life in prison. Goodlett faces up to 5 years. Prosecutors hope a rare visit to the Parkland, Florida school massacre site will prove the shooter's actions were cold and cruel. The state rested its case yesterday after jurors walked through Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. They retraced Nicholas Cruz's steps through the 3-story freshman building known as Building 12. It's been sealed off with all evidence remaining inside since the 2018 shooting. Several reporters were also allowed to enter afterward. Cruz pleaded guilty to the shooting. Jurors will now decide whether to recommend a sentence of life in prison or a death sentence. Florida law requires jurors be unanimous if recommending a death sentence. InfoWars host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones is ordered to pay $4 million to the parents of a 6-year-old boy killed in the Sandy Hook school massacre. It is significantly less than the $150 million they'd asked for, though it's the first time Jones is being held financially liable for repeatedly claiming the shooting was a hoax. The jury handed down the order yesterday. Jurors must still decide how much Jones should pay in punitive damages. Those are damages that go beyond just the original charges, kind of when somebody is extra offensive. And so that will come down to the judge's ruling. Now, Jones has said any award over $2 million would sink him. The jury returns to the courtroom today to hear more evidence about Jones and his company's finances. An attorney for the Sandy Hook parents says that the January 6th committee has now requested 2 years' worth of records from Jones's phone. The attorney revealed during the trial that Jones's lawyer mistakenly sent him the records. Jones's lawyer then asked for a mistrial, but a judge rejected that. The committee played videos of right-wing figures like Jones vowing January 6th would be the day that they would fight for former President Trump. Lawmakers first subpoenaed Jones in November. It is not clear if the committee will subpoena the phone records. A new report says former President Trump's legal team is in talks with the Justice Department about the Capitol insurrection. CNN reports the two sides are discussing whether Trump would be able to shield some of his conversations from federal investigators. Trump has claimed executive privilege protection for several of his former staffers, preventing them from fully testifying about their time at the White House. And one of 2 Republicans on the January 6th committee says there is enough evidence to prosecute the former president. Co-chair Liz Cheney says the facts should convince the Justice Department to move forward. She calls Trump's role in the Capitol riot the most serious dereliction of duty of any president in our nation's history.
So, I think that we're going to continue to follow the facts. I think the Department of Justice will do that. But they have to make decisions about prosecution, understanding what it means if the facts and the evidence are there and they decide not to prosecute. How do we then call ourselves a nation of laws? I think that's a very serious balance.
Cheney's comments come in the context of her own campaign to keep her seat in the House. She faces opponents with strong Trump backing in a primary this month. And China says it is sanctioning the United States. It's a reaction to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan this week. The specifics of those sanctions just came into the newsroom this morning. China says it is canceling or suspending any conversation with the United States on climate change, military relations, and anti-drug efforts. Pelosi's tour through Asia wraps up today. She's meeting with Japanese leaders and defending her time in Taiwan.
Friendship with Taiwan is a strong one. It is bipartisan in the House and the Senate. Overwhelming support for peace and the status quo in Taiwan.
Pelosi returns home later today. In your health spotlight, a look at what's next in America's monkeypox fight. The Biden administration declared a public health emergency. It frees up federal dollars to help fight the outbreak. So far, officials say there are 6,600 probable or confirmed cases across the country. Wish TV medical expert and former Surgeon General Dr. Jerome Adams offers a prediction about what form the outbreak will take.
We're seeing more cases in women and in kids. You're going to see cases, particularly as people start to gather more closely together in school environments and in sports. And it may cause some games to be canceled while we isolate and track down where exactly the source was and make sure we've got folks appropriately treated. But I don't think we're going to see community-wide, statewide, or nationwide restrictions the way we did with COVID.
Some health experts have sharply criticized the administration for not acting more aggressively against monkeypox. California and New York already declared state-level monkeypox emergencies. Criminal charges are filed against the Bartholomew County prosecutor. The report from police describes ongoing conflicts between William Nash and his neighbors, including arguments about dogs and claims that Nash fired a BB gun at the neighbor's home. The neighbors say Nash at one point screamed, "I will kill you," and Indiana state law says, "I can kill you," and then referenced his job as prosecutor. His charges include intimidation, harassment, and obstruction of justice. A special prosecutor is assigned to the case. And out of Clark County in southern Indiana, where a funeral director is ordered to surrender his license today. The State Board of Funeral and Cemetery Service approved the Attorney General's request yesterday. The state suspended Randy Langford's license after more than 30 decomposed bodies were found inside his funeral home. The coroner's office got a tip last month about poor conditions. Police found 31 unrefrigerated bodies in body bags throughout the facility. Some had been there since March. All right, now to some business headlines and breaking news just in this morning regarding the jobs market and the U.S. economy. A sign that the U.S. likely is not in a recession. America's hiring boom did not slow down. It continued. Employers added a whopping 528,000 jobs. That unemployment rate slipped to 3.5%. So this was in July's hiring. It's up from 398,000 in June. So well over 100,000 more jobs added in July than in June. The U.S. economy shrank in the first 2 quarters of 2022, an informal definition of a recession. But most economists now believe that the strong jobs market has kept the economy from slipping into a downturn. The American job market has repeatedly defied skeptics this year. Economists had expected only 250,000 new jobs this month. That's what we had been reporting this morning, but more than double that amount actually were added in July. And mortgage rates dropped to below 5% last week. Rates are well above their levels from a year ago, though. They've fallen swiftly in recent weeks from 13-year high of 5.81% in June. Mortgage rates are falling on concerns that the economy is slowing down, but after this jobs report, we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. And the Department of Transportation proposed the new rules to better protect travelers in case their flight is delayed and canceled. The department says this is in response to the flood of complaints received about air travel this year. It would force carriers to refund consumers, it says, are victims of unfair practices. Elon Musk has responded to Twitter's lawsuit against him. He accuses Twitter of fraud, saying the company misrepresented the condition of its business and key metrics about the users. Musk agreed to buy Twitter in April and then indicated he wanted out of the deal in July, and now they are suing each other. And more of us are apparently getting food delivered. DoorDash said it had a record number of orders in the spring. The positive results defied concerns that rising inflation would discourage consumers from discretionary services like food delivery, especially now that most of those pandemic restrictions have been lifted and more people are vaccinated and feeling more comfortable in public. But still, apparently, that home delivery food service is pretty popular. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com And follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand for even more on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.